Yo, what's up, guys? So, JJK chapter 156. I did a read and I thought it would be best to do a review of this chapter and really just go over Kirara's powers because this was a pretty good chapter and her powers are actually really interesting. And the fact that Fushiguro and Panda kind of work together to figure this out, mostly Fushiguro, is pretty crazy because I feel like in any other fight this would have been really tough to kind of figure out, right? But I kind of want to review some things here, so let's start, right? So at the beginning, okay, we're gonna really walk this down, because I actually looked this up too to kind of figure out what constellation he was talking about, and I did it before the chapter ended, so it all starts to make sense, right? So the rabbit escape was used and they're all marked. They're marked because it's cursed energy. It's a cursed technique. She's able to mark Shikigami without touching them, right? So all the rabbits get marked, and what we witness on the page is they immediately get away from Kirara and they don't even get near the door. Now, what's interesting is Panda is floating on top of them, but they're not attracted by Panda. The rabbits are able to get close to Panda, but they're not necessarily getting attracted like Fushiguro would get attracted, right? So what's happening is Kirara is not affected, the door isn't affected, and then Kirara is explaining that, if he keeps this up, basically he's going to suffocate himself with his own technique. Then he dissipates the technique, he turns it off, and he asks Panda, like, hey, what happened, right? And he basically said that it got close to me and the second floor, but not to Kirara and the door to the monitor room. And he then talks about how he's marked with the Imai star. And Fushiguro's now like, okay, what am I marked with? The A crux. So if we remember, the rabbits are marked with the A crux, Fushiguro's marked with the A crux, right? So that means, based off that and what was happening with the rabbit escape, they are getting attracted to specifically Fushiguro, not necessarily Panda, because if they were going after Panda, they would have all just suffocated him, just like it was happening to Fushiguro. But they're not getting close to Kirara and the door, right? So then, what's even more interesting, right, is he mentions it's a constellation. And this is when I looked up, constellations, and I actually found the Southern Cross constellation, and I'll put it up right here for everyone to see what these stars look like, right? But to keep going here, she kind of makes a face, and she's like, oh crap. Kirara was like, oh man, I kind of gave it away with how I looked, because she was shocked, and then Fushiguro was shocked, right? So the door is marked with oh crap, what was the door marked with? Hang on. The Garcrux. Okay. The door is marked with Garcrux. Fushiguro is marked with Acrux. Panda is marked with Imai, right? So they figure out it's a constellation, and then he's like, oh, so it's the Southern Cross. And he's like, the Southern Cross has 4 points. Now, notice, after this, Panda walks up to Fushiguro, and Fushiguro mentions, I knew it, Panda and I can get close to each other. So they aren't meeting that magnetic force that would typically happen if it was Acrux, or let's just say another matching thing. They can get close to each other, no problem, right? So you would assume, okay, so can't Kirara and the door, can't she just walk in the door? And they bring this up. They bring this up again, right? Which I'll read it right here. I thought Kirara's curse technique had assigned each of us a star in the cross to maintain a certain distance between each point, but Kirara can go near the door, and Panda Senpai and I can go near each other, right? So there's this rule to where, okay, these two stars can go to each other, no problem, and these other two stars can go to each other, no problem, right? But as we've learned, they can't get near Kirara, right? So Panda and Fushiguro can be next to each other, no problem. And sorry, I'm trying to really nail this in. And the door and Kirara can get near each other, no problem. These guys cannot get near the door, and they cannot get near Kirara at all, right? And they go on to say, I suspect this cursed technique is like a stamp rally or a board game with a determined route, meaning there's a sequential order for who can go near what, and that in the same stars attract each other, right? Maybe the technique doesn't include the casting sorcerer. That can't be, because Divine Dog couldn't get near Kirara. Then maybe our stars and Kirara's and the door's stars repel each other, right? So, and then they ask the important question, well, why hasn't Kirara just gone in the door since the rules have been met for her star being able to get near Garcrux, which is the door, right? And we don't know her star yet, right? As of right now, where we're at in the chapter. So that's when they're like, well, maybe there's a fifth star because they don't want him to meet some kind of prerequisite or something to where they'll finally be able to get in the door, right? So then they further hypothesize that if the stamp rally theory is correct and there are only 4 stars, either you or I should be able to approach Kirara, right? But if there's a 5th star between us, we have to go through it to reach Kirara and the door. And that's a good point, because remember, Panda and Fushiguro cannot get near the door or Kirara. So it has to be a 5th star, right? And if they're near that 5th star, then they'll be able to get to them, because they've met that determined path, all right? So now she's like, okay, my secret's out. Now what I'm going to do is basically attack. And let's see here. So she basically attacks, and we see she attacks a car. The car gets hit with an Imai star, so now it's going to attract towards Panda. Panda tries to throw it, but it's going to attract anyway, right? And that's what Fushiguro is explaining. So and then he also kind of says, like, it's like me and Divine Dog. If you throw it, it'll come back or pull you. So he's then looking for this theory to be correct. He's looking for this 5th star, and he finds the 5th star, Mimosa, right? And so if we looked at that picture that I put up earlier, we got the Garcrux, which is the door, Imai, Panda, A-Crux, Fushiguro. Where the 5th star is Mimosa is by that little what is that? It looks like a little, it's by the little parking spot there. And then so we can assume that the 5th star, Ginam, that is that's Kirara, right? She's got that star. So touches the 5th star. And so with this theory, he should now be able to approach Kirara. Now Kirara starts to attack Fushiguro with A-Crux stars, right? So now all those items are getting attracted to Fushiguro. And then it kind of goes into an explanation, and I'll kind of read some of it because we kind of went over it. But this whole thing is called Love Rendezvous, right? It apparitions 5 stars with the Southern Cross motif to target cursed energy, right? From one star to approach another star must follow a determined order, or one of the targets with the same star as another will attract it. The order follows the stars from nearest to furthest. Constellations may look flat, but they actually have depth, because each star is a different distance from the Earth, right? So Kirara marked Fushiguro with the A-Crux. So he must go through Mimosa and then Ginam to reach the door. So his determined path, once he gets to the Mimosa star, now he has to get to Kirara. If he's able to, I'm guessing, like tap Kirara or attack Kirara, then he could get to the door with no issue, right? So Now we've got Panda over here out for the count. And now we have Kirara basically saying, I'm impressed, you concluded my whole theory, but she then says, I could simply remove the Ginam star on my cursed energy. So she removed her Ginam star, right? And marked things with the Acrux star that's also on you, right? So she removed her star. And now and mark things with the Acrux star that's also on you. So her star is gone right now, right? And then the dog starts to attack. And they attract. And then she's like, well, how'd that doggy get there? Oh, I get it. That pug never canceled his doggy Shikigami. So because of where the dog was located, right? The dog is still attracted to Fushiguro. So because of where the dog was able to grab Kirara. And remember, the dog is not attracted by Kirara, but because of where the dog is supposed to go, which is towards Fushiguro, because Fushiguro and the dog attract, she had to cancel or she would have been screwed. And then finally we have checkmate. Please just listen. So very, very good chapter. Very intuitive on the technique. He never canceled the dog. The dog was stuck on the wall. And as the fight went on, the dog finally was able to get off the wall and kind of maneuver to where he was able to grab Kirara, because Kirara was in the middle of everything, right? And not only that, she turned off her Ginam star, which the dog was able to now get near Kirara. So interesting technique, man. Really good chapter. The explanation for this chapter was great. Let me know what you guys think, man. Let me know in the comments.